What's up, y'all? I'm Shawn K, and I'm here to tell you about the craziest moment that happened to me. And I'm talking 33 years living in Chicago. This happens 3 weeks before I moved to Texas. On Friday, October 30th, while I was driving Lyft and waiting for a passenger to come inside my car, I was robbed at gunpoint and had my car stolen. And what makes the story even crazier, this was what I was wearing. Halloween weekend usually tends to be something that's fairly eventful and lucrative for me being in the live event industry. But obviously with everything going on in 2020, nothing was really going on. So I decided to just kind of hustle and make whatever money I could with the people who were gonna be out and celebrating. A little after 11 p.m., I got a call and was picking up a passenger in Wicker Park. The passenger was coming out of a Halloween party. There was around 5 or 6 people that were actually standing outside the apartment building, having drinks, smoking, whatever else. I noticed a man in my rear view that was coming around the corner, and I didn't think much of it. The man then approached my driver's side door, and I asked him if he was the passenger that called a Lyft. The man then opened my door, and the next thing I know, I have a Glock pointed at my chest, and he's telling me to get out the car. So many things were going through my mind. I was honestly just shocked that this moment was actually happening. I was trying to grab my phone, but then he told me to leave everything in the car and get out. I had my hands in the air, I stepped out of the vehicle, he pushed me aside, he jumped in and drove off. The crazy thing about this too is that I actually had my wallet and my keys inside my pocket. So the car was actually able to be driven without my keys actually being in the car. I ran up to the apartment building where one of the guys had noticed what happened, and he was like, "Dude, did you just get robbed?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, at gunpoint. And my phone is in the car, so you need to call the police officers." So while that is happening, the passenger comes out. I had to explain to him that I was his Lyft driver, but I actually just got robbed. He was then able to show me in his Lyft app where the car was going, because obviously my Lyft was still active. While I was relaying the information to the man who was calling the police, the passenger then stated that it looked like the car was coming back down the street. So just to be safe, they brought me inside the apartment where this Halloween party was happening. It was safe to say I probably had the best costume walking into that party. Now when this moment happened, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty shaken up, but I couldn't help but kind of make light of the situation, make some jokes. One of them being that I'm pretty certain that this Pinata costume saved my life. Because let's face it, ain't nobody gave no gangster credit shooting a man in a Pinata costume. We waited about 45 minutes for the police officers to arrive. Good old CPD. During this time, everyone at the party was pretty shocked on how high my spirits were. I was taking selfies, making light of the situation, and most of all, just staying very grateful. I mean, I had my wallet and my keys on me. The passenger noticed that the car on the Lyft app actually took a turn down the street and then completely stopped. We waited for the police officer to arrive before going to that location to see if possibly my phone was thrown out. Once they finally showed up and we gave our statements, they then took us to the intersection where my passenger was actually able to find my phone. And within that week, I had just bought the brand new iPhone 12, and I bought the case just the day before, and my phone was completely unharmed, minus a few scrapes on my case itself. So from this, I still actually had my phone, wallet, and keys on me. The police officers finally took our final statements, and then they took me to the police station, where then ironically I had to grab a Lyft to go back home. And let me tell you, that Lyft driver ended up getting one hell of a story, and I'm pretty certain I was probably her last ride of the night. I got home a little after 1 a.m., took this outfit off, showered, and just kind of laid in bed reflecting on how crazy that night actually was. A little after 2:15 a.m., I then hear a ringing at the doorbell. Now, mind you, my parents are sleeping upstairs. I didn't tell them what had happened. There's no point in me waking them up just to tell them this crazy story. So when the police officer's at the front door, my mom is the first to wake up. All she sees is a police officer at the door. My car is not in the driveway. So instantly, her mind starts racing to the worst. But moments later, I then emerged from downstairs where my mom was relieved but confused, and I had to explain the situation while also dealing with the police officer. The police officer then let me know that CPD had found my car, where when it was stolen in Wicker Park, it was recovered at 72nd and South Cicero, close to where Midway Airport is. My parents then drove to the location where my car was. When we showed up, we saw a few squad cars and they were looking all inside the car. Few items and personal effects were taken from the car, but nothing that can't be replaced. While a couple of police officers were dusting my car for fingerprints, another police officer then explained what had happened. Apparently the robber had used my car to rear-end another woman and then steal her car, robbing her at gunpoint, then taking her car down the highway only to crash it to the point where it caught on fire and the robber fled on foot. It was then the police officer told me that they found the gun that I described inside that woman's car. And the crazy thing is the gun was fully loaded. I kind of reacted like, what? And the cop just looked at me like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have told you that. It was at that moment that everything became very real for me. This guy actually had a real loaded gun. And at that moment, my mind started racing to all the different ways that things could have gone very wrong. So while the police officers were dusting my car, I was updating my IG story to talk about the crazy night that I had happened. Once they were finally done, I then drove the 55 minutes home, just thinking about how lucky I was. Honestly, I was just happy that I was able to go home to my bed and just wake up the next day. I was able to get a few hours of sleep that night, but I woke up to a bombard of messages and calls of so many people that had read my story and they were showing so much love and concern. For everyone who did reach out, I cannot tell you how much I really appreciated it. Overall, I can't help but just be incredibly thankful that in the end, I'm okay. 2020 has been the most trying time for pretty much everyone. But I think the biggest thing to help us push forward is to stay grateful for everything that we have, even the little things, like waking up the next morning. In the end, I'm absolutely grateful that I have my health and I was overall safe and I was able to walk away unharmed. And overall, I'm just grateful I had a Pinata costume on that night to make this story that much crazier. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. And remember, live every day with gratitude, stay healthy, stay safe, and most of all, push forward with positivity. I'm Shawn K, and hope to see you again in the future.